All right, coming up, Dave Petzo. He's warming up in the bullpen. We're going to let him relax and have a cup of coffee here for a moment. Holly from Caldwell wants to talk about the ever-evolving question of a republic versus a democracy. Good morning, Holly.
I think that is where we've gone wrong, Kevin, is, this country was based on a republic and a right of individual rights. And, we focus a lot on the left being so out there crazy about lobbying for the right to the groups. But the concerning part to me is what we see even right here in Idaho with Republicans that are promoting things that are deserve things instead of an individual right. And they're also cheering on the loss of our rights with what I call frivolous laws that really are not helpful, especially if we are doing things like getting people at Crime Stoppers to call in students that are vaping. That kind of reminds me of the rise of the citizens police. And if we cheer on these laws that seem harmless but frivolous, and they do infringe on the rights of others, what happens when we have developed a well-trained force from the public school system that thinks they're supposed to tattle on everybody for everything that they think that they don't like? We live in the laws of the republic, and I think if we really want to uphold the republic, the things we can do is to really stay local with what's going on in our local politics, encourage people to understand the Constitution and not pass laws that infringe on individual liberty, and also to talk to our county sheriffs if they are a constitutional sheriff so that they won't enforce laws that also should have never been on the books.
Holly, thank you for listening. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right, Dave Petzo joining us, the Petzo Center. Petzo. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Kevin. How are you, sir?
Not bad. Last time I saw you, we were at the Lincoln Day thing with the Republicans.
That was fun.
I guess it's nonpartisan. They told me that after my speech, but I was going to say, my +1, Paulette Jordan, wasn't there. Any libs here. But
Get out now.
Right. They kind of curtailed my speeching.
Pretty much half of it was tossed, huh?
Right. Exactly.
You did a good job. That's got to feel a little uncomfortable, all those high officials out there.
Well, you were highfalutin hanging out with all the big muckety mucks.
I got to tell you, that was fun. That was really awesome. As we were talking about, being able to visit with the Big Five in Idaho is pretty rare. It's all having the same room without thousands of people, right?
Yeah. Thankfully, Al Qaeda didn't get us.
That's right. Thankfully, you got me into the green room with all of them.
Thankfully, Kim Jong-un didn't get us either. Yes.
It was good stuff. It was really, really, really good stuff. It was one of the best evenings, I thought. I thought it was just very, very positive, and, of course, Lincoln's amazing. The speaker was great. She was a neat lady. I liked her.
Doris Kearns Goodwin.
Yeah.
Well, we look forward to next year going back to that, and we're going to invite more of our friends and listeners and such, but we do recommend it'll be, the 109th year of that.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
What was it, the oldest one west of the Mississippi?
Exactly. All right, Dave Petzo, let's get to business.
Okay.
The president says that if Kim Jong-un is a good little rocket man, that North Korea could be an economic powerhouse. You buy that?
Well, they could. Most certainly comparably to where they are. It would take nothing to actually feed his people. But they are in a good location. You think about where they are between Russia, which is not exactly a booming economy, but it's certainly booming compared to where they are, and China is a booming economy. So there's no reason not to think that they could do well if they got their act together.
Boy, that would be tough, though, because you remember, and you've got some miles on the odometer, just how tough it was for East Germany to merge with West Germany. Mm-hmm. And maybe we're not even talking about a merger, but South Korea is such an economic powerhouse.
Yep.
Like, if you want the future of Internet, go to South Korea. It's like 10 times faster than what we have here. It's embarrassing.
Well, yes and no, Kevin. We're kind of stuck with we invented everything, and so we're stuck with all of the old grids and everything. We have to kind of move to replace them over time, where these countries that have developed more recently, or in the case of South Korea, also very, very small countries. So it's a lot easier than from coast to coast to do what they've done.
I'm not making excuses. I'm just telling you the score.
No, you just don't. It's not an excuse thing, man. You were just
embarrassed. Dave Petzo.
You're embarrassed for the whole United States. I heard you.
I don't know, Dave Petzo. When I start hitting this, you start smacking me back. So all I have to say is Samsung.
Right.
That's South Korea.
Okay, and I'll just say Apple, Google, Amazon, Netflix.
Right.
Netflix is probably in Korean.
Sure, but doesn't Apple have like majority of their plants in China or something like that?
They do.
If they don't, I'll just make that up.
Well, you're right on that one.
All right, Dave Petso joining us here. Before we talk about the local story, the local news, because it's just getting crazy. I digress. I have one of these bots. You ever have these home bots that these people send to you? I know. I have done a poor job of setting up this segment. Let me try this again. KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Dave Petso, the Petso Center, Petso Financial, host of Money Matters, Saturdays 8 to 10. So every month or every couple months from my, I guess, the mortgage company, but they don't own the mortgage. They were the broker. They sent me this thing called this home bot and how much your home is worth.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And it's fascinating. And it really says, Kevin Miller, you need to start paying more principal. You need to start listening to Dave Petso. You paid all this money, and like only this percentage of it is really in principal, and the rest has been in interest. Then it goes on to talk about that if you did an Airbnb with your house, that if you rented your house, that if you wanted another house because of all this magical equity going on. But it's fascinating to me. So a few months ago, let's say 4 months ago, my house was worth X.
Okay.
And now, magically, the same house with a brand new heating and cooling system, thanks to Diamond Heating and Cooling, has lost like $40,000 in value. No, I'm not a ghetto fabulous person. I live in an HOA in Star. So how does something fluctuate so much on that?
Right.
Is it the whim of an algorithm, or is just somebody going, well, winter's not a good time for selling homes, so we're going to drop the value down.
Right. And probably values are falling just a little bit, Kevin. What I would compare it to is a phony number that you never would have gotten 4 months ago, right? You never would have got that number because they were just anticipating.
No, I think I would have gotten that number.
But you don't think you'd get it now, do you?
I do.
You do?
I don't believe the bot. So there goes the credibility of the segment. But we have people here that are just moving here.
Yeah.
They bid $20,000 over homes, well, in your beloved Boise.
Yeah.
And they're getting beat out. It's still a bidding war going on with the homes.
In some. I've got one sitting next to me that's been there for a year now.
Do they know who's the neighbor?
Yeah. Yeah, they're Californians. So we're happy that they're moving on.
Right. Well, we'll probably be replaced by more.
Well, very, very possibly, Kevin. But anyway, I know that there's been some weakness in some areas, and it depends on of course what dollar range you're talking about as well. Because it looks to me like the low end, when I see the numbers coming through, is still moving very quickly. Anything under, and lower end has certainly been changing over the years here. You remember when you could get a house in some cases under, say, $125,000? I'm not saying it was a palatial house, but you could. I don't know that you could get a teardown anymore.
Indeed. And again, the value is coming. But isn't that ruining things?
Ruining what? You mean that the property values are going down or up? You mean up too much?
Right. I mean, people are complaining that their taxes are going up too much, that affordable housing is a crisis.
Yeah.
You talk to any mayor here in the Treasure Valley, they will tell you that affordable housing is a crisis. Then you have people, wanting to build apartments and condos, and then people are complaining about that.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, your Boise is now little Portland.
Well, I understand, and it is, and I've said that for a long time that my Boise is gone. It is gone, and this is the greatest city in the country. But the old Boise, which was even greater in my mind, is gone. It's gone for good. And but the problem that we have is a pretty good problem. It's a first world problem, one of growth, one of jobs, one of opportunities. Here is not exactly something to cry about. And we human beings complain about everything. It doesn't really matter if everything was flipping perfect. It wouldn't make any difference. Everybody would find something that was wrong with that perfection. And the idea that they're building too many apartment complexes, of course, is that a really, first world problem? Of course not. It's not. This is not a huge problem. As far as affordable housing, we're still very affordable, comparable to any big city in the country. So that's why I believe people will continue to move here in droves. It's not going to become more affordable. It will become less because we're going to continue to grow because we're that attractive.
Now, why are we so attractive? Is it because of our traditional conservative values, or is it because of our affordable cost of living, or is it because people want to ski in the mountains and golf, within, the same day?
it's that, I think, lifestyle. It's also that amazing people like you, Kevin, live here, and that's why. Because,
depends on who you talk to.
Well, this is true. If you when you are coming out of your bunker,
right,
then and engaging with people, they just say, "Wow, that guy is amazing, and I'm moving here," and they do. And I actually think it is part of it, and that's part of what you've been talking about. Is, are we losing that where people are really, really nice? Boise nice is nice. We are nice. We are losing it as far as your property taxes. You're quite right, Kevin. We've gotten completely out of control. I can only talk about Boise, and particularly downtown Boise. But even my house, the mill rates are off the charts. It's not just your property values going up that are affecting the property taxes. It's how much our government sucks out of us in a mill rate, and it's pretty high. So you're right. We're losing a little bit of those things around the edges, but.
Right.
Anyway, I think that we're going to keep growing.
Now, at 580-5436-580-KIDU, I'm going to try and lure you into my cult of controversy, if you will.
Ooh.
So we have this bill before the Idaho legislature, HB 122, talking about legalizing the hemp. And you have a lot of people, I guess the Farm Bureau is behind it, people saying it's going to be a $100,000 startup cost for the Department of Agriculture to get experts to coordinate. Then you have the hemp experts saying that you could get 30 to 40 to 50 grand an acre. Now, if that's the case, I think we all should go into farming hemp.
Right.
Back to Medicaid expansion as well. You and I talked about this, the Prop 2 on the ballot where they said, we're going to get free money from the government.
Yeah.
If something is too good to be true.
Yep. I know it is, and it is too good. It's a sad thing. We're seeing so many things happen. We have so many people who are holding their income down, millionaires, if you will, holding their incomes down so that they can get free medical care, and that is a new strategy. And I'm not putting those folks down. I'm just saying that's a ridiculous function of our tax code, and the idea that we can't figure out something to do about health care except just go ahead and figure out ways to have magic fairy dust thrown all over it. It's just paid for by the government. That's not us. We're not the government. It's just this magic thing out there that pays for us, and that somehow is addressing the problem. It's not addressing the problem. It's not even a Band-Aid. It's another absurd overreach of government. Unfortunately, we've got to solve the problem. It's not so much that this is such a horrible piece of legislation. It's just this horrible idea that we're not fixing the problem.
Well, we're going to talk a little bit more about Medicaid expansion, what it means to Idaho businesses, and your retirement savings and the liking coming up next. One former candidate for governor, you know him.
I do.
Good friend of yours. Has a solution for the healthcare crisis. We'll talk about it next with Dave Petzo on KIDO Talk Radio. Dave Petzo joining us here at KIDO Talk Radio. Catch him Saturdays 8 to 10. Kevin Mill in the morning. Phone numbers 580-5436-580-KIDO. So it's so funny. We have some of the Democrats, before we get to healthcare, some of the Democrats actually cheering for the economy to go bad. I'm watching Meet the Press. Now, you were in Reno over the weekend. You were having a good time, but I was working for you.
Were you?
When people say, Kevin Miller, you're always working, yes, flipping from Meet the Press to This Week to Fox News Sunday.
Whew. Wow, you must be exhausted.
It is a tough life. It is a tough life. But you had one of the former senator from North Dakota, South Dakota. The Dakotas, they're all the same, except you have the good Dakota and the bad Dakota. But regardless, saying, well, you wait till the economy. It's not going to be the same next year. I'm going, she's rooting for economic collapse.
It's absolutely true.
Crazy.
It is crazy. They have lost their collective minds. What kills him, I think, in this case, Kevin, is that fundamental economics are government is horrifyingly bad. I mean, not a little bit okay or a little bit bad. They are horrible for everything. So the more we have of government, the worse the economy is going to be, and they simply can't accept that. I mean, that's a fundamental tenet. You can tell me that my belief is I don't care about the economy because I care more about these other issues. That's fine. It really is. That would be a political belief, an honest belief. But the idea that I have this new Green Deal, for example, I'm just saying, we all know that's absurd, but it is the same idea that somehow the government that can't have enough permits to approve a high-speed train from, Los Angeles to San Francisco, in 10 years they can't get the permitting done, let alone laying one track, is somehow going to retrofit the entire United States and figure out some kind of thing. And now, don't worry, though, Kevin, it's going to create literally millions of new jobs. Not destroy jobs, we're going to create new jobs. And so it's like this is some kind of weird fairy dust that we want to imagine. And then through all this, we'll have social justice because don't worry, there won't be any corporate welfare. There won't be any issues. Everything, as long as we have the right committees deciding how much a librarian should make versus a terrible billionaire guy over here that created a cell phone. This is insane. And yet this is really the total narrative that we're always talking about. It is a real problem, I think, with millennials, that there's no history here, there's nothing taught, that government absolutely takes. It does not contribute to the overall economic development. It takes away from it.
And coming up next, healthcare first, traffic and weather together. Let's get you to work.
What's Eric Gabbard?
Kevin Miller, Dave Petzo here. So we're talking to Tommy Ahlquist. You remember Tommy Ahlquist, right?
I do. I've heard of him.
Right. Tommy Ahlquist and I, we had him on last week at this time, and we were talking about hospitals. And do you believe that we need, smarter, at least that's what Tommy Ahlquist would say, smarter hospitals when it comes to competition? Mm-hmm. And the idea that you could write reviews, you could find out how much something would cost before you would jump in. Do you think that would be a good thing?
That's a great start. What to me, what I just heard, the beauty that I heard there was there are solutions, whether it's not, do we need reviews? Of course we do, but that's not going to solve the problems. But the idea that people are involved in their own care, that are saying, no, I've heard bad things about this hospital or good things about that one, when there actually is data out there to look at for people. These are market solutions, and that's the magic or beauty of what I just heard Tommy saying. And so I'm very, very happy to hear that. I think there are great solutions out there.
Well, as we grow, of course, healthcare is a concern, and you have a lot of great hospitals here, but sometimes, regardless of where you go, it's a take it or leave it mentality.
Mm-hmm. It is. No, it is. Yeah, you're absolutely. You're sitting there and you are completely at their whim. You laugh at me when I broke my leg not going in that day. Well, that was because they were going to run, a battery of tests about something I knew I was fine about. So it's why do I make that decision when I could just make that decision or should be able to make that decision if I do choose to go into the emergency room?
You're right, but it does seem kind of crazy that you break your leg and you wait till the next day to go in.
Well, I wasn't going to sleep any better in the emergency room with people banging around all night.
Right, but you would have been treated. But you decided to do that to save money.
Well,
this, my man, is a fiscal conservative right here. There's no government waste or excessive spending.
Well,
in the Petzo household.
It's not like the bone was popping out of the skin or anything.
I didn't know that you were a doctor.
Well, no, I'm not a doctor, and I don't even play one.
But you diagnosed yourself. I mean, how many people do you know that they break their bones and they don't go in until the next day so they can save money?
And I can get a good night's sleep or a better night's sleep.
A better night's sleep. Dave Petzo, the one, the only. So let's talk locally. What are the usual suspects? What should we be looking for locally?
Locally, Kevin, the economy is still going strong, and I don't see any reason that's going to be derailed at all. And we don't really have, other than Micron, any big, large, publicly traded companies. So we're continuing to see great growth around the valley. I don't see that changing at all. As for the markets, I'd have to say that the earnings season was obviously good. As I talked about on Channel 7 today, Kevin, it's remarkable, up over 11% since the beginning of the year, about 15% since Christmas. That's the big caps, over 20% since Christmas for the small cap stocks. It's an amazing turn. The Dow has had it's been 25 years since it's had this many weeks in a row of gains. It is absolutely an astounding turnaround and another lesson. And I'm not meaning this to be in the face of people, but when people get negative all the time and sit and grind on the news and talk and just simply regurgitate it, they can be chased out of the market or they don't invest. And there's literally $12 trillion sitting on the sidelines. It's completely missed this over 400% move in the market, all from constant fear. Instead of just stepping back, buy, hold, stay in the game, quit worrying so much. And it really does affect people in very negative ways. And it's another lesson. And I hope we grab it and you stay invested and quit worrying about these normal downturns.
Dave Petzo joining us here. A final thought. Is it time to take a look at artificial intelligence? I know you're high on that. Me, I'm going back to Skynet. I'm going back to Terminator. Yep. I am not down with AI.
Yeah, Kevin, it's terrifying. It's both terrifying and it's wonderful. I mean, it is something that you look at and you go, really seriously, with artificial intelligence, we're going to cure cancer. We're going to cure multiple diseases. All of those things that are pretty amazing, and really, and just simply make life easier. And I think those things are great, but I am with you completely in the whole Skynet thing, the whole artificial intelligence in the military, all this stuff, what the Chinese are doing. If it was only us, the good guys, Americans, and sorry for the liberals that don't think Americans are good, but they are. And without that, I would feel wonderful about it, or I would not have any opposition at all. It is a little bit frightening. So I'm with you there, Kevin.
Dave Petzo, we appreciate you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Kevin. You have a great day.
You as well. You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Maggie.
Good morning, Kevin.
And out to Tana J. Powers, Fox News Radio exclusively here in the Treasure Valley on KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Good morning, madam.
Good morning.
So, big night for the Oscars last night. Everything was wonderful besides all the political whining. How about that for an intro?
Well,
it's always good when you laugh. That bails me out, but please go ahead.
Did you watch the Oscars?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
That's why we have you. I love America. I'm not down with the Oscars.
What is that? Okay, then I don't even understand that sentence.
I get that a lot.
You can love America and still watch the Oscars?
Not really.
Yep.
You know,
wow.
The Alliance was on last night. I think the Alliance outdid the Oscars, if I had to guess. You know what the Alliance is? The Alliance of American Football.
Okay.
They had the Memphis team versus one of the other teams, San Diego, Birmingham, Atlanta, all the big cities. Salt Lake finally won. Go Stallions.
Well, okay. That's cool. I've not seen the game.
I can tell you more about that than the Oscars.
Well, if you want to, we could talk about that.
All right. So the big winners and losers from our entertainment director, Tanya J. Powers. Not to be confused with our political expert.
That's true. Well, it's just a different hat, That's really all that is. I think probably the big upset was Olivia Colman winning for Best Actress and not Glenn Close, because a lot of people thought Glenn Close, it was her year, or they expected her to win, after being nominated and not winning one, but she did not take home the Best Actress last night. It was Olivia Colman for The Favorite. Let me ask you, how many of the Best Picture nominees, the movies, did you see?
None.
You didn't see any of them.
I know. I'm not giving you anything to work with. However, I was fascinated by Green Book. Mm-hmm. I'm glad it won. I that's probably the only movie. I don't know about the Freddie Mercury movie, hearing good things about it, but definitely Green Book I'd like to see even before it won, just because I'm all about the struggle, the friendship, the loyalty, the angst. It's a lot of angst in my life, so Green Book.
I've seen several of the nominees, not all of the Best Picture nominees. I think there were some people surprised that Roma and The Favorite neither one of those got Best Picture, because it was, when they were announced, the nominations were announced, they got 10 nominations apiece. People thought, oh wow, they're just gonna one of these movies are just gonna run off with the whole thing. And they didn't really. There was a lot of love for Bohemian Rhapsody, though, as you mentioned, that one with Rami Malek winning Best Actor for playing Freddie Mercury in that movie. I have not seen that one, but it's on my list of things to watch.
I see. What about Spike Lee's thing?
Yeah, he won for adapted screenplay. I believe that was the one.
No, I meant his controversial statements afterwards, urging people to vote and such. Spike Lee, he never holds anything back.
No, he doesn't. And honestly, I was kind of surprised that that was all he said. To be really honest with you,
Right.
it was more roundabout than anything else. It basically, told people that, hey, 2020 is coming. Don't forget to vote, that kind of thing. Barbara Streisand also made a comment about the truth. But, I mean, it wasn't overly political. Nobody took the stage and just, really got – I mean, there's been award shows where there was a lot more, blatant politics or things that people had to bleep out or whatever. But and also I take that the fact that there was no host, I wouldn't be surprised if they don't do this again in the future. I don't think that really hurts things because, that's a lot of times when you have a host, a lot of the the political stuff comes from the monologues or whatever. And we didn't. There was no host this time. I didn't honestly miss one.
Well, I can sleep easier at night.
Are you planning to watch next year?
Possibly.
Really?
No, I was just saying that.
Okay.
Tanya J. Powers, thank you for getting through this segment with me. I've made it incredibly tough for you, but I apologize for that. Thank you.
You're fine. It's okay. No problem.
Tanya J. Powers, Fox News Radio. We appreciate her. Max in Garden City. Thanks for your patience. You're on KIDO Talk Radio.
Good morning, Kevin. I was listening to Dave Petzo talk about how he broke his leg and didn't bother to go in that night because it was so expensive and went in the morning. Now, and as a trauma physician, I want everybody listening to totally disregard that terrible example. Waiting overnight can invite so many complications, and unless you run x-rays and tests, even I can't really tell what the condition is like till I see the pictures, till I look at the blood. Bone necrosis, you lose a leg. That is just, Dave, you're very smart with money, and you're a dummy when it comes to medicine.
Oh, boy,
Please,
Max calling out Dave Petzo now. Oof.
Hey, come on. Are you listening to what he's saying and how he justified it?
Well,
it
was
I
his
might
leg.
have lost a leg, but I'd have saved $50.
Well, it was his leg, though.
Yeah, Earth calling. I'm sorry. When I hear something as medically deranged, off the rails, and stupid as that, I have to respond.
I think you've covered that one.
And other than that, the Academy Awards, I'm with you. They're not germane to today. They're just, I don't know. I think reruns of I Love Lucy probably beat them this season.
I would agree with you that when you have Spike Lee, saying his stuff. Let's take a listen to it. Do we have this? Let's take a listen.
We will have love, wisdom, we will gain our humanity.
Right.
It will be a powerful moment. The 2020 presidential election is around the corner. Let's all mobilize. Let's all be on the right side of history. Make the moral choice between love versus hate. Let's do the right thing.
Whatever happened to I'd like to buy the world of Coke?
Spike Lee, this borderline illiterate who was pushed up the providential ladder in Hollywood, didn't struggle to get there. He's a social promotion. And now he's running his mouth about politics, something he knows nothing about. But, hey, the Academy Awards are a political host show. All of you big award ceremonies have become let's bash Trump ceremonies. So a lot of people are tuning out. Not just me, not just you.
No,
I think across the Treasure Valley, there are tens of thousands of people who didn't give the Academy Awards a second thought.
In fact, if they had run a new episode of This Week in Livestock, I think it would have beaten the Academy Awards here.
Well, and I'll bet you that down in Alabama, the Bass Fisherman Show was beating them out. Kevin, you're doing a great job. Keep up the good work. And remember, I still disagree with you on the texting, on the new texting law.
Well, you've won this year, but I have been talking to a lot of supporters of this. And it's funny when we've only been around for how many years, and people that are in the know, they should know this is the place you talk about the issues. And somebody came up to me at the Lincoln Day thing and said, hey, I hear you're in favor of this hands-free bill. I go, yeah, well, next year we need to meet and make something happen. I go, yeah.
Well, I guess what it amounts, you said it yourself in this Kevin Miller moment. You said in your own words that the high fines are what discourages people from doing this.
I would agree.
Okay, but that means that it's not the new law. It's not a law. It's not giving you some cute nickname like Maisie's Law or Nike Nokia Law. It's the fine. If we just modified and enhanced the punishments, and if the police kept their eyes open and were told, start cracking down on it. Yesterday, I had a woman in front of me, and her dog was sitting up on the dashboard, jumping in her lap and bouncing around the car.
Yeah.
Tell me she shouldn't have gotten a quick pullover and a $500 fine.
Here's the thing. With all due respect to people that love animals, and I love animals, they should not be in your cars. If they are, they should be secured in the back seat. Whether you have a Chihuahua or a Dachshund, you don't put them out the window. You don't have them while you're driving.
I saw a German Shepherd in a diaper running around in the back bed of a pickup truck, ripping down State Street.
That is my personal pet peeve, dogs in the back of pickup trucks.
It makes me crazy.
And we're getting ready for that.
People will tell you that's their child.
We're getting
that's
ready.
My baby.
Right. You wouldn't put your baby in the back of it, and we're getting ready for my two favorite horrible seasons. Number one, dogs in the back of pickup trucks, and number two, the crazy militant bikers that are out. I'm driving around. I don't know. It was late at night. Was it late at night last night? The other night, I was driving around doing something, and there was a biker on Chinden. It was last night coming back from church. Pitch black, 7:30 at night on Chinden. Thankfully, they had some reflective gear on, and I'm going, it's not worth losing your life to be biking after dark or in the early morning hours.
I'd like to see them modify the noise ordinance, bring it down to 75 decibels. Start busting these guys who think that a noisy motorcycle is safer because they can hear you coming. That's a bunch of garbage. The frequency range of the motorcycle noise is not identified. You can't identify. You can't pinpoint it.
I'd like to expand quiet time to I'd like to expand quiet time to 7 o'clock and not 9 o'clock. But
no, but I mean seriously, some of these motorcycles.
I'm serious about that. Quiet time.
Of course, it's worse in Vegas, but still, if it goes over, say, 75 decibels, pull them over, give them a little ticket, and just slowly lead them into fixing it.
Yes, our friend Randy the biker will love that. Max, thank you.
All right, you take care. Have a good one. Keep up the good work.
God bless our friend Max from Garden City. By the way, this is just too delectable to resist.
You know, it's funny. Sometimes American journalists talk about how bad a country is because people are lining up for food. That's a good thing. In other countries, people don't line up for food. The rich get the food and the poor starve to death.
That's Bernie Sanders, crazy, wacky, zany Bernie, coming out in favor of bread lines. Now, this was back in, 86, something like that, when Bernie had more hair, like we all did in 86.
You know, it's funny. Sometimes American journalists talk about how bad a country is because people are lining up for food. That's a good thing. In other countries, people don't line up for food. The rich get the food and the poor starve to death.
There we have it.
Funny.
Crazy Bernie. Jim in Middleton with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning, Kevin. How are you?
Loving Bernie Sanders praising bread lines.
I know, isn't it just crazy that people still go back to failed policies of socialism? Kevin, have you heard of a pastor in New York City called Pastor Manning?
The name sounds familiar.
Okay. Well, I'm sure that you and many of your audience are going to look him up after this conversation. I happened by him on YouTube, and I've watched a few of his preachings and so forth and what have you. And he brought something up that I was unaware of that was very, very interesting. What he mentioned was that before any white man, European, what have you, set foot on the continent of Africa, and I think that was up to the 13th century, that the African people never built anything. They never built any cities, any temples, anything that was long-lasting. You go out throughout Europe, even South America, okay, and you'll see pyramids and some buildings and stuff that are still erected. You go out to England and so forth. But he made this point and he's a black man, and he's preaching mainly to a black audience. And it was a very, very powerful message, and it can hurt when you hear it, but it's true. He talking to his own people said, "What have we built? We haven't built anything. We destroy Harlem. We destroy the areas that we're in. We don't build anything." He said we need to change our mindset, and we need to come to grips with this reality. Anyway, Kevin, I'm going to leave you with that, and I'm sure that you are going to look into it as others have or will. And anyway, this is not to run black votes down or what have you, but you got to know the truth. If you want to improve yourself, improve your life, and what have you, we need to do this. We need to take a hard look at it. Anyway, Kevin, there it is, sir. You have a good day, and I'll talk to you on a follow-up on this later.
Thank you, Jim from Middleton. In reference to our earlier conversation, many major Democratic candidates want reparations. Hank, that would be Kamala Harris, Elizabeth Warren, and Mr. Castro. In Boise, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio.
Good morning. You're talking about the millennials, which David Petzel was mentioning. It's our education system. We spend all this money, and our education system is actually destroying us. And we spend tons and tons and tons of resources. Here's Antonio Ocasio-Castro, who preaches what she does, and she has an economics degree from Boston University. How could any school that's reputable, that's worth the taxpayers' money, when we have examples and we can show why by statistics why government policies fail? We could use the example of the New Deal, Roosevelt's administration. We could also use Jimmy Carter, and just so that it doesn't become a partisan thing, Democrat, sampling out Democrats, we could also show the Richard Nixon administration with his price controls, why they were a disaster and created the starting of the downturn of our economy in the 70s. And I don't see, the nice thing about the 20th century is that we have the statistics and the cause there to show the cause and effect of these policies, because we've tried these policies, and yet the economic college, this should be taught at the high school level. This should be taught at the college level. Why these policies fail? Just like Bernie and his blood, they're always nostalgic about the good old New Deal, the good old, and yet it was a complete failure. For the amount of money and the resources spent, it was a disaster. And in certain administrations that have been vilified in history, like let's say Warren G. Harding, he may have been in the women or sex or whatever, but I'll tell you what, when it came to economics, he was the first president to have to see the sense of cutting taxes and regulations from the Woodrow Wilson. But he was the first president, and the turn down in 1921 was actually sharper than the turn down in 1929. The difference was the response of two different presidents, Warren G. Harding and Herbert Hoover. And Harding's result was basically cutting the role of government back, and it worked. And it created the boom of the 20s. And this is something that needs to be taught in our economic classes. It isn't a matter of partisanship, but that's reality.
Right. Now more than ever. Hank, I got to run, but thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Coming up next, Lars Larson will join us, plus more of your phone calls, and Bernie Sanders saying bread lines are good. Are you agreeing with that? Join the conversation now, 580-5436. Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Indeed, more of your phone calls next. So appreciate you joining us, waking up on the right side. Let's get you to work safely and on time. KIDO Talk Radio, traffic and weather together. Good morning, Dave.